What is up, the fantasy? My name is Zach Pfeiffer, and this is your weekly recap of Survivor 45, Episode 3. This episode was called No Man Left Behind, and it was great. We'll dive right into that. Before we do, like my buff, isn't it nice? I just played in a one-day Survivor game against 16 contestants. I did not take the title of Sole Survivor, although I tried my damnedest, but I got 5th, which is pretty good. A pretty good spot. A lot of legends are in 5th, and I'll take it. I played in Survivor Brooklyn South, SBS, and they just did their second On the Road series, which is kind of outside of the city, but they just announced their next season, which will be in May here in the city. So if you want to play a game Survivor, I definitely recommend applying. I will be attaching the link in the email and everything, but yeah, email me if you want details. It was so great. You can follow them on Facebook as well. So Survivor Episode 3. It was great. So Lulu comes back from sending sweet Brandon off into Ponderosaville. And Emily's really grateful. She's thanking everybody. And shortly after they get back, Sabiyah returns the shot in the dark die, which is a pretty trustworthy move. I don't know if that was on Sabiyah's not wanting to ruffle feathers, her not thinking, or her just honestly giving Emily a good sign of trust. But Emily was also gobsmacked, and I thought that was just going to sit in Sabiyah's pocket for the rest of the game, because she could have kept that, and I don't think Emily would have really held it over her head. Lulu is really down and out, and they really want to win, so they're really trying to build this team unity. I'm going to dive right into what happens next, because they go to a reward challenge, and Lulu gets first. I'm so proud of them. So they get first place, and what they get is a bunch of fruit, but also the ability to raid another tribe, which I think is so silly, considering we've had 2 episodes and not a lot of things to raid. It's clearly an opportunity and a disguise for one member to go to the other tribes to kind of get a little bit of intel. And Lulu sends Caleb, and I think it's genius for everyone's game but Caleb. While some people might think going to other tribes is great because you can start building connections and building trust with other people in the game that are not on your tribe, Caleb is already viewed as a visible social threat on Lulu. And now with the public display at Reba also knows that Caleb is very, very likable, and also seems to be the muscles of their tribe, and everyone seems to be around them. Drew calls him out as being the person running Lulu. So Caleb's doing what he can to stay in the game right now. I do not think that raiding Reba was probably the best move for him to do. If they were smart, they would have sent Emily, because she already has had that public thing. No matter what she does, everyone's going to be okay, that was the girl that yelled at Bruce on day 1. So very interesting over there. A new advantage is revealed to Caleb, which is kind of confusing. Kind of mid. I can see how it could really make a big difference later in other seasons, but this season it seems to be a big flop. But basically it gave someone the ability to regain their vote. The only person without the vote over at Reba right now would be Austin. Drew technically could have lost it if he did the at the journey, but he won his, which he tells Caleb that he got the shot in the dark. In return, he gives this advantage to Drew, who gives it to Austin. So regardless of whether Austin found the idol this episode or not, he was going to be able to vote if they went to the tribal council. So let's talk about Reba for a little bit. We're getting some good kind of breakdown of what's going on. Maya and Sifu seem to be the outcasts. They seem to be on the outside a little bit. We don't get a lot from them, other than their nice musical moment, which was strange, and we would only have gotten that in a 90-minute cut. We have Drew, who thinks he's running the thing, and has Austin kind of in his palm. And then you have Dee and Julie that are really starting to form a good relationship, even though Dee and Austin also seem to have a good relationship. Drew is getting cocky and is caught digging for the idol, which is incredible. Never let that happen, y'all. It's not a good luck. And he does not handle it well, which is a good sign of how Drew will handle when he is blindsided. Just a foreshadowing, perhaps. He's just doesn't know what to do. Literally just got up and walked the other direction, and they were all what the fuck are you doing? So they clearly know Drew's going up. I definitely think that broke some trust for Dee and Julie against Drew. So Drew has been doing really well so far, but I think this is the first chink. So we'll talk a lot about ego in this episode, and I think this is a good display of you need to front ego. You need to have kind of clout, and you have to believe in what you're doing, but do not let you underestimate other people, because you will get in trouble. So after that whole situation, they kind of like throw Sifu under the bus, which is really funny. And Dee's like, that's stupid. And then later they're like, okay, we should tell them that it was the Beware advantage and blah, 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 blah. And that like all this stuff. And it doesn't make sense. They like, it's a really bad lie. But they recruit Dee and Julie to help find the idol. The ladies find a rope, they pull it up, they find a hammer. The hammer has to smash open a rock, which will have the idol in it. And I was praying and rooting and screaming because I wanted those girls to run to the water well and take the hammer and smash the rock and be like, oh, we got the idol, and they'll never know. But they gave it to Austin and Drew, and then they went to get the idol, and then they got the idol, which is okay, fine. So he gets his vote back. The whole vote thing doesn't really matter, unless someone loses their vote before the merge, or at some point, they could use that later, I guess. But right now it doesn't seem to have much power. So we leave Reba with this like interesting dynamic where these four still definitely seem to be working together, but now Dee and Julie are kind of on the opposite sides of Drew and Austin. But I do think that the people that are fully out in this four are like Drew and Julie, because Dee and Austin have a thing. Dee and Julie also have a thing, so maybe more so Drew than Dee. But I think that like this trio could eventually find a way to get rid of him. And then we go over to Bello, and we had like a really scary moment, very reminiscent of the Australian outback, if you will. Jake near a fire and trying to blow and get that fire to go and inhaling too much smoke and literally almost having a seizure and passing out into the fire. It was scary and definitely overplayed for the drama in like the trailer for the episode, because I thought someone was gonna like really get hurt. But scary nonetheless, and it's interesting that they kept that in there. It was very small and like really not that huge chunk of the episode, but scary for Jake, who is playing a very under the radar game right now. Other than that, we get a little bit more of like Kelly and Brando talking and being like, we are kind of running this, it's still setting up that they're in the middle, that they could go with the girls, they could go with the guys. Bruce did not get a single confessional in this episode, which I think is interesting. It could just because his story arc is kind of lying low and other heads are popping up. But you want to be heard on Survivor. You want to be seen. And then we get like a little moment when Kelly and Brando are talking about Katurah, and they mention something about like she's hard to read, and she scares me, and I just like heard that, and they kept that in the edit. And I think that's like both a good and bad thing for Katurah. Because ultimately, if Brando goes home soon and like maybe at the hands of Katurah or something like that, then that is like Katurah's just like evolved into a new form. But if that gets echoed by other people, then we could start needing to keep an eye out for Katurah for being someone that is maybe a little too closed off and not playing that opaque enough social game to really connect with people, because it's making people feel a little uneasy. But, at the end of the day, like, we didn't get much from Bello this week. More just establishing what they've got going on. Still no idol to be found at Bello, which is interesting. And we go into our next immunity challenge, and I don't know why. I mean, history repeats itself, but I was like, there's no way Lulu's winning this challenge. There's no way. And they tried really hard. And unfortunately, they lost again, and it's like really devastating. And I can't really remember the last time we had a challenge where the winners, when they won the challenge, we immediately got sad, sympathetic music for the losers. As soon as Reba won that challenge, sad music. And you see Emily up on that pole looking left and right, being like, there's no chance of us winning this, fuck. Like, Emily sees her game slipping from her, because she thinks she's next. She kind of feels like she's on borrowed time at this point. And it's devastating. It's emotional. Reba wins again. Bello gets second, right after each other. They're neck and neck. And for some reason, when it matters, Lulu is just left in the dust. And these three are really sad. It's pretty hard. First three tribals, it's like decimation. And it's sad. How many times will I say sad? So they go back to camp, and this is where things get interesting, because Sabiyah still doesn't have a vote because she has her wax candle thing. And while Caleb's away, she's talking with Emily and she's talking with Sean, and she starts off with talking with Sean. And I think, again, ego is coming to the forefront. She thinks that she's good. She thinks she's in with everyone well. And I think what she's underestimating is everyone's autonomy, not like realizing that Caleb is having conversations that she doesn't know about, but also Emily to a large degree. Sean, I feel like, is kind of just like going with the numbers, and that's fine. But Sabiyah brings up with Sean that like Caleb's really a social, likable threat. Like maybe we get rid of him now when we can, because maybe this would be our only opportunity. And that's how like big players think and should think. I'm not saying you can't do that before the merge, because like you can, but what I think Sabiyah is underestimating is how much trauma and like pain has happened in this tribe already. Like having a quit and seeing someone walk out of this game, and then having someone who loves this game so much be voted out because he can't do the challenges, and they keep this girl who like started off really bad and now is like kind of winning back. And then there's dynamics and layers, and like we might only be in like 6 days, 6 days, but like they are, I think it's really, you have to step back, I think. And so Sabiyah has this conversation with Sean and is like, great, let's tell Emily. So they tell Emily like we should vote for Caleb because like threat. But I don't think Sabiyah clearly knows that Caleb was the reason that Emily's still in the game, more or less. Like Emily got herself there, but Caleb gave the runway for her to take off. And I think that she's going to be loyal to Caleb over everyone else on the tribe, obviously. So she immediately tells Caleb, well, no, not immediately. She like tells him right before tribal council, which I think was a very smart move. Like to like not let him have the time really to like go tell everyone else. And she might have like realized that the plan was happening like this, but she came up to him in such an earnest and fearful and like honest way that you don't really get to see in Survivor that much. And literally it's just like, I'm telling you that you should vote for Sabiyah because it's not Sabiyah, it's you. I'm not going home. And that really throws Caleb, because he's like, I don't know what to do in that. And so they go to tribal council. And here's where things get tricky. At the very beginning of the episode, Emily's smart, so smart. And she's like, why were there only 2 votes read? That means there were 3 votes cast, but there were 4 people that could vote. What's going on? And Sabiyah plays it off. And it's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I didn't even notice. It's so funny. But like, Sabiyah still doesn't have a vote. And we don't know how long this candle's gonna melt. We don't know the rules of everything. I was saying like throw it in the fire too, but like they're actually doing it. So they get in tribal council and she immediately puts that little candle thing into the fire. She has a stick ready and Jeff's like, oh. And in his podcast, he's like, we didn't expect that to happen. Like they didn't really think about it because like this far into the game, everyone should have had fire. So everyone should have had the chance to do what they needed to do for that. And as it happened, Jeff was like, is this against the rules? Is this something we can do? And yeah, of course it's something you can do. It wasn't said you can't do that. So like, let the survivors play. And like, when I host my Fifer games, like it's a very similar thing. If someone does something that I didn't expect to happen, I have to kind of like take a step back and be like, okay, they outsmarted this game, or like they're elevating the game. Similar to the shot in the dark exchange with Emily in episode 2. So we see the candle melt and Jeff is trying to have tribal council, but everyone's like paying attention to this candle. She gets it out. She douses it with water with the help of Sean, who clearly is in on what's happening, and she gets her vote back. But these new idols, little did she know, have a little something up their sleeve. Basically it's a one-time idol. So she would have had to play the idol at this tribal council. So if she did, Caleb would have gone home. But if she sacrificed her vote, then this idol goes into the merge. And we know the merge isn't for another like at least 2-3 tribal councils. So great, safety in the game. And then if she wants to at the next tribal council, if she doesn't vote again, this idol becomes a final 5 idol, which is the most powerful form of the idol. Everyone wants that idol, not these silly bracelets and like birdcage idols. Like this is the one you want. So she is in the moment where she knows that she should vote. Like it's her power in the game. She has to like use her voice to like get Caleb out. Don't let it be Sean's move. Don't let it be puppeteering from the sidelines. But she like does the math and she's like, well, Emily and Sean are voting Caleb, and then Caleb's voting Emily, so it's not even coming my way. Didn't even cross her mind that Emily could have like opened her mouth and told Caleb. So she doesn't vote, and we get another. Well, actually, this is like kind of Sean's blindsided, Sabiyah's blindsided, and it's a 2-1 vote, and Sabiyah goes home. And it's bite. It sucks. Like, Sabiyah had such a great first couple of days in the game. She should be so proud. Like, this is something where, like, Sabiyah could be an all-star in an upcoming season for sure, and she was only on for, like, 6 days. She played an amazing game, but her ego, I think, got the best of her, and that was her demise. And now Lulu is down to 3 members, and it's so sad. So, Sabiyah, oh no, down into Ponderosa with your other fucking Lulus. And then I just can't wait until Hannah and Brandon see Sabiyah coming back, because they're going to be like, Emily! Oh, God. But hey, you know what's really crazy is next week this will all be different, because we've got a swap. A swap's coming. A guaranteed, bona fide tribe swap. And they confirmed it in the episode. People are spread out. We didn't get everyone's tribe orientation, but I bet if I watched that a couple times, I could probably figure it out before next week's episode. So, as we turn to who's going home next, it's all about a numbers game. Someone's going to get swap screwed in this. Some people have more protection than others. We have a safety without power. We have only one idol. There is still an idol to be found in the Bellow camp. So, like, there's a lot of things that could be happening in this next episode. But my predictions at this point, I'm just going to go tribe by tribe. Reba, I still think Sifu and J-Maya are in the bottom. If they were to be on the wrong side of the numbers, I think they're easily booted. But that can go for the same for anyone on this tribe. But still saying, J-Maya, Sifu, probably soon. Lulu, well, clearly Sean. He's out on the numbers. If for some reason there's a tribal council with these 3 and only these 3, then these 2 will turn against Sean. Unless Sean has an idol or anything, Sean's going home. And then Bello over here. It seems that Bruce is still public enemy number 1 over here. Jake definitely endeared himself with Kendra, so I don't think Jake is really on the chopping block or a decision anytime soon. He's done a really good job recovering from literally just existing as a lawyer. But my eyes are falling on these 2. Bruce, obviously, but Brando has been, like, less than mid-tier in, like, narrative-wise. We have not got a lot of confessionals from Brando. We've gotten some funny, like, bits with Brando, like the whole tube top thing, but it wasn't really through his perspective. So I do have a feeling that if Brando is on the wrong side of the numbers at the next tribal council, definitely think he could go. Bruce similarly, but I also think Bruce is like an easy red herring. Everyone's gonna want Bruce to go because he's such a public enemy number 1. But he probably, is going to be a shield for people. I think he's going to go pretty far in the game, be like a 8-7-6 boot. So I don't think yet. But Brando's worrying me. I think Katora's safe. Kelly seems to be pretty strong in her narrative, and Kendra also seems pretty safe. So, and also Kendra, as we know from episode 1 that we did not see that got edited out, did have time over at Lulu Beach. So Emily, Caleb, and Sean all have a relationship with Kendra beyond just seeing each other at challenges. So, who's going next week? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Sifu. I think Sifu's days are numbered in this game, and I think he's going home next. But, of course, I think Mama Julie at the end of the last episode, and then by the end of the week, I was like, based on these edits, I think Sabiyah might go if Lulu loses again because of the whole, like, Emily, she's telling Emily that Caleb should go. Emily's obviously going to tell Caleb, and then that's obviously going to turn back on Sabiyah, who I assume wouldn't have a vote. Little did I know what chaos would ensue. Can't wait for the swap, y'all. That's all I got for this week. It was a great episode. I hope the swap doesn't screw up like a fan favorite. Sabiyah was near and dear, and it's really sad to see her go. So, that's not like there's anyone that's like bad. I'm not saying anyone's bad, but yeah, let's keep our favorites around. Emily, please, forever. All right, y'all, that's it for this week. I love you very much, and I will see you next week after a Survivor swap. Mwah.